Hey everybody, it is November 9th.
Do you want to know what mortgage rates are today? We're going to be getting into that. Also, we have a loan estimate from a viewer that was sent to us a couple weeks ago. We'll be going through that with you. Also, inflation, really important inflation numbers are coming out tomorrow.
Okay, so let's get right into that loan estimate. This viewer sent it to us, and again, something to look for. This is a loan estimate, it's the federal disclosure. It's 3 pages long, but the first 2 pages are the important ones. The first page shows the loan amount and that interest rate. That loan amount is actually a small loan amount, compared to a lot of the average loan amounts. This is small, and usually smaller interest rates have lower loan amounts have higher interest rates.
Yeah, it's like buying things. The more you buy in bulk, the cheaper each item is.
So we have, based off of what the borrower told us, that viewer, this interest rate seemed to be just fine. The closing costs from the first view, if you look down here, you're thinking $8,600 in costs. What is that? Again, we want to
costs $8,600.
Yeah. So the next thing we do is we look right over here. I highlighted this in blue. These are the real closing costs, $3,500. And then the green, these are the other items that you would pay for taxes, insurance, prepaid interest. And in the case of Maryland, there's transfer taxes. And so the green is all over here on the right side. We don't want to really focus on this side. Now, even though it's important for your purchase transaction, this section here has nothing to do with the loan costs. What is that bank charging you? And that's what we're trying to get at.
Right. Yellow is going to be lender costs, and green is going to be what we're going to call property costs. I mean, theoretically, if you didn't have a lender and you could just pay cash, I guess there'd be a couple of things that would change. But the green has to do with the property, not loan costs, and it's confusing for borrowers all the time.
Okay, so on that left side, we've highlighted these 2 fees right here. This is in section A. It just says these are the 2 fees that the bank is charging. They total $1,090. Mm-hmm. There's no points.
Right. Sometimes those fees are combined, but in this case, with this lender, they broke those out, which is fine. The total is still reasonable.
Yes. Everything in these sections here look fine. The title fees, the title company that will handle the transaction, their fees go in this section. There probably is a couple of fees in here that are missing, but title company fees really aren't something I would want to stress at this time, because these are things that will be figured out.
Yeah, and it's all title specific. It's title company specific.
Okay, so this total of closing costs, the $3,514, that's very reasonable. I think that this loan estimate from this viewer checks out just fine. If you have a loan estimate that you want us to review on the channel, be sure to email that to us at team@azmortgagebrothers.com.
And remember, too, the biggest thing that we looked at was that points line item. Yeah. There's nothing there. There's an origination charge, but there's no points. Our eyes almost went right to that. That's how big of a deal the points are.
Okay, so where are interest rates today? Most mortgage rates at 30-year fix, 6.75% today. The 15-year fix is at 5.99.
The 30-year FHA, 6.375. The 30-year VA, 6.375.
And those quotes have no points, no extra fees with them, and these are the loan scenarios for conventional, FHA, and VA.
Yeah, and an important note, that if you did want an even lower interest rate than what we were actually quoting there, those are available to us, but that's when we charge points. So our interest rates are so good that we don't need to charge points. That's the point of this. But there are other rates out there available if you did want to try and buy down, as they say.
Okay, so tomorrow's inflation report, it's coming out 8:30 Eastern time. The expectation is that inflation will be 8.1%. Inflation last month was 8.2. This is measuring, so tomorrow's inflation is measuring October 2021 inflation to October 2002 inflation. It's
always on an annual basis, right?
And it's always 1 month behind.
I kind of wish it were monthly, by the way.
So it's just basically they're at 0.1% lower is what they're expecting. So we shall see. Mortgage rates are very, very sensitive to the inflation number, especially in this market right now. So we wanted to show you what the reported inflation, this is from the government's sources, from the St. Louis Fed, what inflation has been over the last 12 months. Okay, so this is the reported from the government. About 5.4% early, in the beginning of this chart here, to the latest last September was 8.2. Okay, it peaked in June at 8.99%. So basically 9% inflation in June.
Yep. Okay. So how many months is that, July? So basically, over a 3 or 4 month period, it's come down about a percent, which is a big deal. We were all waiting for it to come down.
Yes, and we want to show you another resource that we've been looking at more closely. It's called Trueflation. This is there's a website called trueflation.com. But anyway, these are economists that are very techy, that have 10 million data points that update every day with all the costs of goods, housing, healthcare,
10 million.
transportation. I mean, everything's in there, and they show different numbers. What they're showing, this is the last 12 months, they're showing that inflation peaked around March 11th, 2022. And today, their numbers are showing about 7.32.
So they're basically showing almost a percent lower today, and their peak quite a bit higher, and was 3 or 4 months before.
Yes.
Very interesting.
So we'll be, just something, I think this is a leading indicator. We'll be tracking it more closely. But if this is true, and Trueflation has a better idea of where the inflation is, we very well could see inflation reported by the government show lower numbers in the coming months.
Yep. And remember, we don't typically talk about inflation. When you talk about mortgages, it's like, inflation. When's the last time mortgage companies talked about that? We talk about it so much because it impacts that 30-year. That is the only reason why. So hopefully one day when we do our mortgage rate, updates, we're not talking about inflation. Because it is interesting, but we've never talked about it before. Yeah. So,
and be sure to check out our mortgage calculator right here, because you'll be able to actually access what those payments are going to be for your mortgage, but also estimate how much income you need to qualify. It's an awesome, awesome calculator. So be sure to click on that video.
And we're going to figure out a way for you guys to be able to wrap that up in a pretty little box for the holidays, because you're going to love it. It's so simple.
Awesome. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, folks.